Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you folks are doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your Friday. Great ending to your week, beginning to your weekend, whatever it may be for you folks out there. If you're tuning in later, maybe it's the start of your weekend. But regardless, I hope you guys are doing awesome out there. Here to break down the latest on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Friday. Once again, severe weather is going to be the topic. I would say the good news is the confidence on severe weather occurring is a little bit lower. So the category, I would say, from the Storm Prediction Center outlook isn't as high. But as we get deeper into the morning, they could bump it up another category to an enhanced risk for some of these areas. But we're going to dive into this, talk about why they could, and just break down all these areas that run the highest risk of severe weather for today. Once we get into tomorrow, our Saturday, and then for our Sunday, things get quite serious once again. Okay, we're going to run the risk of significant severe weather across some of the same similar areas that have seen it over the last several days, last several weeks. And last night was an incredible night of tornadoes. We were lucky this didn't happen in super highly populated regions, but southwestern Oklahoma was certainly the highlighted spot last night for not only tornadoes, but pretty large tornadoes, like stovepipe tornadoes, something you see like out of some sort of movie or just a magazine or something like that. So it's very active right now. We'll talk a little bit on that and how we'll lead into the weather for the rest of the afternoon and evening. And we'll break down everything. Timestamps will be up for you guys to take advantage of. Skip ahead to certain sections you want to hear. Don't blame you one bit, but we will dive deep into this and try to figure this one out over the next several days. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. So we got a little bit of moisture, some thunder shower activity, even some, just flat out heavy rain. A lot of humid air built into the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, you got a lot of humid air also on the western side, but you definitely got a lot of moisture kind of dancing around across North Carolina, up into Virginia, and then into West Virginia. Then you got this area of moisture here, definitely popping off some flash flood warnings here in Arkansas. Areas of Arkansas has already seen a ton of rain, continue to see a lot of rain this morning. And some of these are in the form of maybe some stronger thunderstorms. Let me know what you're seeing, Marion, Northeast Texas, and what you saw this morning at least, because by the time you tune in, if you do, this will be cleared on out. But we got some weather ongoing in northern Mississippi, near Memphis. Looked like we had some storm activity a couple hours ago. But this is the big story right here. This is overachieved. They extended the enhanced risk further east yesterday evening, and rightfully so, as I guess we'll know what exactly happened in eastern Nebraska as we are, the sun's coming up and we start to get reports. But we have had this sweeping, pretty fast-moving line of storms that's moved out of Nebraska into Iowa, and it's been popping off severe thunderstorm warnings. It's been popping off tornado warnings embedded in the line of storms. So a lot of times you don't really see these coming because they're embedded in the line. Okay, so this will continue to move across eastern Iowa, eventually into northern sections of Illinois, southern Wisconsin throughout the morning and afternoon hours, and then more additional convection could form on the southern end of this. More so just, I would say, rain up here in North Dakota. We were thinking maybe this could switch to snow, but if you're mixing with any snow in North Dakota and you're tuning in, definitely let me know. I would love to know. Western U.S., not quite as active right at this moment. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Severe thunderstorm watches are up right now in areas of Iowa, Missouri, and surrounding states. Wind advisories up for the Dakotas, some dense fog advisories. Could be more fog out there where there isn't dense fog advisories. A lot of moist air built over the southeastern U.S. I will mention this too for Texas. There's heat advisories, excessive heat warnings. I mean, it is the heat indices. The feels like temperatures are going to get well into the 110s, between 110 and 120. I mean, and the actual air temperature will be in the low to mid 100s. So, I mean, it is going to be hot down here. I mean, you're probably already waking up and it's hot. So, it's all because of this ridge built in over Mexico, over the Gulf of Mexico. And let me tell you something. That ridge over the Gulf of Mexico right now is only heating up the surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, which poses more issues down the road for hurricane season. The sea surface temperatures right now in areas of the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico are already what they typically are in mid-August, guys. So, not going to get deep into that. I will show you something here in a second that I'm actually going to pull up on the fly, but the excessive rainfall outlook, there is a slight risk here. So for southern Arkansas, northern areas of Louisiana, northeast Texas, a slight risk, which means at least a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles at any given point. I'm going to do this on the fly because I actually kind of meant to do this before, but I want to give you the latest information from the National Hurricane Center as of around 6 a.m. Eastern Time. There is an area that we are watching, kind of an area of interest. It has a 10% chance to develop in the kind of the southwestern Atlantic. It's really in the southwestern Atlantic right now. If it does, which it's very low, it'd be subtropical. I know I've had a couple people mention, why aren't you, talking about the tropics much? Well, one, I don't do seasonal outlooks. I just don't. It's just something I don't do, guys. I think we struggle enough figuring out the weather between now and the next 7 days. I think, just trying to, look at these winter weather outlooks. Like, I saw somebody posted something on a winter weather outlook for 2024, 2025. And I mean, it's May. It's May. It's incredible people do that. It's not a knock on anybody, not calling anybody out, but I just think it's outrageous in my opinion. But this could bring some unsettled weather for Bermuda. We'll watch, but certainly watching this area. I am watching it, even though some people might not think I am. Guys, I love the tropics. I love tracking hurricanes, tropical systems. I'm just not very concerned about this, but it is a sign of things to come. The Storm Prediction Center outlook. This is our slight risk, extending from just north of Milwaukee all the way to Austin, Texas, all the way back over to almost Birmingham, Alabama, all the way back over to Tulsa, and Columbia, Missouri. Level 2 out of 5 risk. Marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. Extends all the way into the Carolinas. I think we'll have what we call an MCS, mesoscale convective system, that will potentially sweep through Georgia, South Carolina, southern North Carolina later on tonight. It could bring a very summer-like vibe tonight for these areas of the country, as there's a ridge down here and a flow on top of the ridge supporting thunderstorm development, which will tap into all the energy that's out there. Tornado threat. 2% risk in the green. All right. We have that isolated shot of tornado. 5% risk here. Guys, if you live in Milwaukee, really points west, Janesville, Rockford, down to Peoria, Springfield, Illinois, Chicago, extreme eastern Iowa, really for the next few hours. I do think there's an opportunity for a few tornadoes today. We're already seeing it in the, last night into right now with tornado warnings. I think we're going to have some tornadoes later on this morning and this afternoon that will have a potential to occur right up here in this 5% risk area. But the wind threat and the yellow, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, if you live in the yellow area, that is a 15% chance of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then the black outline region, which has grown larger since last night's video that we did. Springfield to Little Rock, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, not quite to Tulsa or Oklahoma City, but down to Dallas, Waco, Austin. 10% risk of significant hail, which is 2 inch in diameter or larger. And we had that yesterday. So I saw somebody that had a 2.5 inch in diameter hailstone that they saw, a storm chaser. So it was very large yesterday who was getting hail. So let's break it down. So we're going to break it down section by section. Typically when we have an enhanced risk, I'll jump right into that enhanced risk area. But trust me, we're going to cover everybody with this severe weather potential. So we'll start off in the southeast. We got the weather ongoing in Arkansas and surrounding areas. I want to watch as soon as mid to late morning. Thunderstorms could be rumbling through northeast North Carolina up to Norfolk, Virginia, and eastern North Carolina. Could already have some storms, popping off. Very possible. We get to just after lunchtime, you see these storms cruising through eastern North Carolina. Already have storms cruising across the Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi line here. And I do think, once again, it's going to be an active afternoon for the state of Tennessee. Well, we've had strong to severe storms on and off all week. Could get some storms popping up in the low country of South Carolina or outside of Savannah. More energy popping off here in eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, around 5 to 6 o'clock this afternoon. And then we start to move into, this evening, and we see all those storms that we will break down here in a second. I'll talk about that in another timestamp. But we'll have to watch how this energy behaves as it kind of moves through the Appalachian Mountains down to South Carolina, maybe as far north as Charlotte, North Carolina, maybe as far south as Atlanta as we get into the overnight hours. This is getting after midnight, and I do think we're going to be dealing with probably a complex of storms in the wee hours of the morning, cruising through the areas of the Mid-South right here, Tennessee, northern Mississippi, getting down here. Just a closer look at this area. We'll take it to about 3 p.m. These storms right here, watch out. highly unstable atmosphere right here for these storms to tap into. And then we start to get to about 7 p.m. Stormy conditions, maybe in Chattanooga, Huntsville, Cumberland Plateau. Some storms showing up in upstate South Carolina. Storms along the coastal regions. A lot of people heading to the Carolina coastline, Georgia coastline for Memorial Day weekend. Could have some storms. Nothing crazy to cancel any outdoor activities with. It's just your typical summer flow out here. And then look at all these storms in North Georgia, down to Birmingham, the potential to occur. And then we got to watch, like I said, as we get to, midnight and after, some storms. So northern sections of South Carolina have an opportunity to be there. Could become more widespread right before daybreak in South Carolina. We got to watch this line of storms. Like I said just a second ago, cruising out of Tennessee down to Alabama, Mississippi as we're getting into daybreak tomorrow. Could definitely be a soggy start to your Saturday down here with a lot of leftover shower and storm activity. Up here in the Northeast, I think it'll be relatively quiet outside of a strong to severe storm or two, or just a storm. Down here in Maryland, southern Delaware, eastern, the intercoastal, waterways right here of the Delmarva region. Certainly some isolated to scattered storms are possible. Everywhere else, though, I don't think you're going to see much at all, really. I think some showers could make their way into western Ohio. The leftover energy from all the storms back in Iowa right now will eventually make it all the way to Ohio after midnight tonight. I just think they'll lose some steam and will pretty much, almost be non-existent by the time they reach this area. So I don't think we have anything to worry about there. The south central U.S., no, we do probably have some things to worry about. We take it to about midday, and we'll take a broad look at this first, and then we're going to zoom into Oklahoma and surrounding states. We take a large look here, and we're going to have some isolated shower and storm activity up in Missouri. And then there's the potential for explosive thunderstorm development in eastern Oklahoma, northern Texas, and these could produce all hazards. I think there's not a lot of low-level spin in the atmosphere for tornadoes, but guys, sometimes these storms almost create their own kinematic environment, meaning sometimes they just create their own kinematic flow, and they almost can just create their own environment that supports a tornado. The tornado threat yesterday was like 5% risk, and we had wedge tornadoes yesterday in Oklahoma. So it just goes to show you, when you have a very unstable atmosphere, which will be in place in these areas, these storms can produce. So we're going to have some weird motion storms out here. Once again, I think it's going to be kind of similar to the last couple of days, just maybe not as intense. But you see these storms down in central Texas and southeastern Oklahoma. I think they'll kind of pulse up. I don't know if they'll last super long, but look at this supercell around 10 p.m. in northeast Texas, and just look at these storms down here or up here in the Boot Heel, Missouri, and then they'll kind of turn into what I think will be like a mesoscale convective system as they cruise across the Mississippi River and get to the eastern side of it. But a closer look at Oklahoma for sure. All right, for you guys that, that was too wide of a look. Closer look here, Dallas-Fort Worth area, watch out. Tulsa, watch out. Certainly eastern Oklahoma, Fayetteville, Springfield. These storms are going to produce very large hail, most likely. If you get hit by one, they'll have a nasty hail core with them, isolated tornado risk, and damaging winds. And then they'll just kind of cruise across northeastern Texas. Mary, watch out. Areas of western Arkansas, southern Missouri. And then they'll kind of just lose some steam. Could get a few inches of rain from these, too. And the rain's really driven off what's falling right now. So you look at that updraft Felicity swath. And this is for what's going on kind of this morning. But look, as these storms form later this afternoon, you see more, a symbol for more stronger updrafts and more of this highlighted vibrant color here. This indicates rotation with some of these updrafts, stronger updrafts. So once again, stronger updrafts generate very large hail and even sometimes a tornado threat, a lot of times a tornado threat. So just be aware of these storms down here for sure. Now, I do want to mention South Texas. Guys, this is the heat indices. Feels like temperatures. The hottest part of the day today, 4 to 5 p.m. It's going to feel like in some of these areas 120 degrees. Okay, especially these southern counties here in South Texas, 115 to 120 degrees, just absolutely miserable. So please take the precautions needed during this heat. Drink plenty of water, stay hydrated, and all those things you need to do when it's this hot. But moving forward here, let's take a look at the north central U.S. Surface low riding through Minnesota right now. A lot of nasty weather. Rumbling through Iowa once again. And we take this to, and once again, we'll take, a broad look at this. I want to note a lot of widespread rain up here in North Dakota, northern Minnesota. And we take it to about midday, lunchtime. Line of storms probably now pushing through all of southern Wisconsin at this point from late morning to early afternoon. More storm activity trying to form down here. And this is the tornado threat that starts to materialize. Okay, cold front kind of moving in behind this. And these are the storms you really want to watch out for southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, as they kind of reform. They'll blast through Milwaukee probably sometime late this afternoon. Chicago also, you want to watch around Rockford, point south down in Peoria, Springfield. And then they'll lose some steam, kind of almost blow themselves out, if you will, into lower Michigan as they enter western lower Michigan. And then they'll continue. And then by the time we get into tomorrow morning, things simmer down for a period. I think up here in like northern Wisconsin, northeastern Minnesota, scattered showers and storms could even get an isolated tornado up here, a severe warning storm up near this surface low. I think they're just lacking in thermodynamics. But some showers will move in later this evening for your Friday night up here in the UP of Michigan. Steven, you're probably going to be dealing with some showers. Loyal viewer up in the UP. A lot of other loyal viewers up here in this portion of the country too. And I appreciate y'all so much for trusting a guy from South Carolina to talk about your weather in the Great Lakes region. It means the world. But we start to make our way, like I said, into tomorrow morning. Things kind of begin to slow down as this surface low kind of weakens and moves into Canada. Closer look in this area, though. Okay, there's this first line of storms. I mean, this is like 10, 11 a.m., right? This blast through Janesville, Rockford, and then probably weakens as it starts to approach Milwaukee. What forms behind this is the thing we got to watch. Strong to severe storms early afternoon in eastern Iowa. Once again, Davenport, Dubuque, possible. What is it? Burlington, I think. I think that's the name of the town. You're going to run the risk. I mean, down to Quincy, very possible strong to severe storms. Okay. This is where you need to watch in this embedded line, broken line, maybe discrete supercells, semi-discrete. There could be some rotation with this area of darker reds and pinks. Okay. Your kinematics, low-level jet will be the best in this region. There'll be a little bit of low-level shear, directional shear, and just turning with the atmosphere aloft. You're certainly going to have a tornado threat right into this region. I want you guys to be aware of this. If you live in southern Wisconsin, central to northern Illinois, there is that tornado threat later this afternoon. This will, move through Milwaukee. Maybe the timing is anywhere from 4 to 6 p.m. Chicago, kind of the same thing, maybe an hour or two later. And to keep this going, could be some storm activity in areas of Kentucky. But we start to make it to about 7 to 8 p.m. Strong to severe storms going right through the heart of Illinois. St. Louis experiencing those storms also. And then, as we start to get later in the evening, 9, 10 p.m., northern Indiana, storms are making their way through. Same thing, these storms are starting to move into southern Illinois. Indianapolis, you guys will start to get some storms probably late evening. A lot of people are wondering about the Indy 500 in Indianapolis. When is it? I think it's Sunday. It's Sunday. Guys, I'm going to get very detailed on Sunday. There's just so much going on between right now and tomorrow. But trust me, you guys know I'll get very detailed on Sunday. I know that's apparently a big race. And I'll be honest, I don't watch NASCAR, guys, at all. It's not a big interest to me, no offense to it. But we certainly know there's going to be a lot of people there for that. And, Indianapolis will be under the risk of severe weather for sure. So we will get that round later tonight into central Indiana. And then this will kind of lose some steam into the overnight hours. But like I mentioned, down here to the south, a lot of energy for this southern extension of this line to work into. So that'll move into Tennessee and still be packing a punch into the wee hours of the morning. Updraft Felicity swath. I mean, guys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see where your eyes immediately want to go to, which is right here, pointing to it like you can see my finger. But northern Illinois, extreme southern Wisconsin, highlighted tornado risk here. You see the vibrant colors, rotating updrafts are symbolized the highest on this particular model run. You got little pockets of other areas too, but this is the area to watch out for. Janesville to Rockford, maybe even up to Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago. You want to watch this area. Tornadoes don't completely avoid big cities, okay? I'm not saying we're going to get a wedge heading towards Chicago and Milwaukee. A lot of times, cool air off the lakes help you guys. We'll have to watch for this. I mean, even in extreme eastern Iowa, folks, watch out for this for sure, okay? And this is all because of this low-level jet that will get enhanced right into this region as we get into this afternoon. You see this little low-level impulse right here, 40, 45, 50 knot low-level jet riding right over this region in response to this surface low up here. this will be basically overriding right over this convection at the surface. So this will provide enough low-level kinematics, which you look at a lot for tornadoes, right here in this area. So you'll have kind of a more highlighted, what we call overlapping segment of ingredients, kinematics and thermodynamics, for a more higher end tornado threat, 5% risk right here into this region. So don't ignore that 5% risk today. Okay, so wow. One thing I noticed is I don't have my friends here in the western U.S. pulled up, so I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I haven't done that in a while. I don't think I've ever done that. But the western U.S., so we're going to do this on the fly here. Take a look at what's going on. For the most part, out west, it's pretty quiet. Ron, Karen, don't get mad at me. Karen's in Montana, Ron's in San Diego, or anybody else out west. I got you covered. Even though there's not a whole lot to talk about, never want to leave you guys hanging. Some scattered activity up here in Montana, some shower activity. Maybe even a storm, is possible behind this return flow here with this low. Could get some small hail with some of this in western North Dakota, eastern Montana. Scattered shower activity in the Pacific Northwest. And then as we start to get to the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, maybe some moisture in areas of the central Rockies. But other than that, it's pretty quiet out here. Enjoy your Friday for sure. Temperatures. Warm, where there's no cold fronts kind of moving through. I mean, it's starting to get pretty miserably hot, summer-like soupy air down here in Texas, the deep south, the Carolinas, 80s and 90s, high humidity. Pretty nice day up in the Northeast, though. It might be a little chilly in northern Maine with a little bit of troughing trying to influence your weather. Nova Scotia, southern New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, nice temperatures. Southern Ontario, nice. Ohio Valley, areas of the Midwest, downright warm ahead of this storm activity. And then you got the punch of colder air up here in North Dakota, where highs will struggle to get out the 30s and 40s in some of these areas, guys. A cold, miserable rain here on May the 24th. Pretty wild. And then you just got a cooler area of air in central to northern Rockies, but I mean, it's not that bad. It really isn't. 50s, 60s for highs. I mean, that's probably pretty nice for most people. But then it gets, starts to get a little bit warm again in the Southwest, but typically not as hot as it could be this time of the year. All right, so let's dive into tomorrow's severe weather risk. We have an enhanced risk, and I know I'm not showing you the better outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Unfortunately, it kind of cuts it off right down the middle. So we're going to take a look at pivotal weathers thing, and I'll try to mention a couple towns and cities on this. So enhanced risk from Kansas City down to Oklahoma City, down to Tulsa, Wichita, including this, Topeka. Enhanced risk in this region, level 3 out of 5. Slight risk in the yellow, level 2 out of 5, goes all the way down to just south of the Red River in Texas. Okay, this does include Fayetteville. This goes all the way to almost Columbia, Missouri, all the way up into areas of, looks like Omaha, not quite including this, almost into Lincoln. Okay, level 3 out of 5. And you're wondering, well, Mitch, if you watched last night's video, I said I thought we'd wake up to a moderate risk. Well, I think we'll get a moderate risk issued later this afternoon. I think confidence is a little, everywhere because of some of these short-range model guys not showing convection. The latest one is, though, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. What is this driven off of? Well, there is a 10% risk of a tornado in this yellow area within 25 miles in a given location. I know it's pretty small. I expect this to basically expand eastward, in my opinion. I think this will move into Oklahoma City, maybe even Tulsa in later updates. 5% risk in the brown area, 2% risk in the green area. So, not a whole lot of areas you can mention. Woodward, not even including this, but, if you live in this area here in western, west central, northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, 10% risk. Oklahoma City in that 5, Tulsa in that 2, but I think this will change. Kansas City, 2% risk. Wichita, I think you have that 5% risk of a tornado. The hail threat in the red area, 30% chance of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Yellow, 15% risk. Black outline area right here. Okay, that's a 10% risk. If you live in the black outline region, 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. And I do want to mention with the tornado threat, you got the black outline region inside this yellow area also, which means there's a 10% risk of a strong tornado. And then the wind threat. I could see this increasing. We'll have to watch. If it does, if it goes up another to a 30 to a 45, that will introduce a moderate risk. In the red area, that is a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Yellow, 15% risk of that. Black outline region here, that is a 10% risk of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher. So it's almost, might as well say, including Kansas City, down to Wichita, and this area of eastern, southeastern Kansas into western Missouri. chance for significant winds as this low-level jet really gets going later in the evening tomorrow. Okay, so I want to jump ahead and just kind of look at what potentially the radar could look like tomorrow. And this is the scary thing. And we'll kind of move past today's event. We'll take it all the way to tomorrow morning. This is what kind of has me worried here, right? So the long-range HRRR model before this one didn't really show any convection. Now this one is. So tomorrow morning, nothing going on. Okay, we go all the way to 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Nothing going on. 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Bang, out of nowhere. Watch right here. Keep your eyes here. 6 p.m., 7 p.m. The explosion of storms right into here. Confused about the time frame? Look right here. This is 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're in Central time, so back it up 1 hour to 7 p.m. I can't change it. All right, Oklahoma City. Looks like supercells basically develop right on top of you. And immediately, these will have the opportunity as the low-level jet enhances, really, especially as we get after 8 p.m. to like 8 p.m. to like midnight tomorrow night. When that low-level jet gets cranking, guys, it's going to really fuel the low-level kinematics in these storms, and they're going to have the opportunity to produce all hazards, including strong tornadoes. Notice there's a 10% risk in the here. You're like, man, well, there's no storms forming. Well, these models don't always get it right, guys. But, this is one thing we can look at. The thing is they're all of a sudden showing supercells right here in the heart of Oklahoma, higher populated region of Oklahoma City. These storms are heading, basically kind of, I would say east-northeast, and then they get into Tulsa and could get some nasty weather in Tulsa, late evening, 10, 11 p.m. Look at the storm down here south of Tulsa, up here near Wichita. You see these storms, even these storms up here in Emporia. These will be quite intense. Look at this supercell down here. And I'm telling you, low-level wind field, low-level jet is feeding into these storms. They will be producing all hazards. Okay, and then we can only go out to about 1 a.m. Saturday morning. Kansas City's up here, and I'm going to show more people too, and then later in the video and in other videos here over the next 24 hours. But Kansas City's getting some nasty storms tomorrow night more so. But you see all these storms are still intense, especially in Kansas as we get later in the night. But this is a worrisome look, guys. I mean, you look at the updraft velocity swath, and you go back and look at this. Okay, this is what happens today, right? You move forward and you look at those storms there. Look at that. Ugh, you don't like to see that. Those look like discrete supercell signals. I mean, they look like tiger claws in this map, right? I mean, that symbolizes intense rotating updrafts, very strong storms, disruptive storms. Might only get from 4 or 5 storms tomorrow capable of producing a tornado, but those storms could be capable of producing a strong tornado. Tomorrow has a high-end ceiling with it. It does. So, we look at the dynamics with this, and the only thing we'll look at here is the low-level jet, because I think this will be the wild card for tomorrow's threat. You're going to have plenty of energy in the atmosphere. Okay, so you take it to about, 6, I would say 7, 8 p.m. Watch how this entire area lights up with colors. Okay, we take it to about late evening, and then bang, right here. This is after the sun's beginning to set. That surface low is right in here. You can see it by the rotating wind barbs here. Low-level jet enhancing to over 50 to 60 knots in this area. What is this doing? It's screaming out the south. You see these wind barbs pointing to the south, and then these back here in the panhandle of Texas pointing more so out the west. That is your cold front. And this is causing directional shear, a spin in the atmosphere, and tons of wind flow. So what does this do? This increases your tornado threat dramatically when that low-level jet gets going, and increases your damaging wind threat dramatically as all these strong winds about a mile above our heads here mix to the surface. And man, by the time you're getting closer to midnight, you got a raging 60, 65 knot low-level jet from northern Texas into Kansas. And this increases even more so as we get into the overnight hours to 60 to 70 knots. This will be feeding any storms for a potent damaging wind threat and even a tornado threat. Okay, so you go back and we go forward and we look at Sunday's threat. Enhanced risk of severe weather into here, level 3 out of 5. Kansas City, including the Indianapolis, down to Louisville, western Kentucky. You got it all the way into central Illinois, very small section of southeastern sections of Iowa, southeastern and in the eastern sections of Missouri. Level 3 out of 5. Okay, slight risk extends outside in the yellow, level 2 out of 5. What do we know about this? Well, the only thing we know right now is that there's a 30% chance in the red area to see severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. And then the black outline region, which does include Indianapolis and St. Louis, and pretty much everybody in between, 10% risk of significant severe weather. I think damaging winds will be a big threat with this, but I also think you'll have a 10% risk of a tornado. We'll have to watch. Sunday's going to be a big day too, guys. It really is. So we look at the kind of ingredients for Sunday, okay? Not going to speak much on the ingredients for tomorrow. We've already dove into that like a million times. We probably will end up doing it again, and we'll do it a little bit again here right here in the end of the video. But we get into Sunday, and this is mid-level flow, winds at 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet up in the air. And basically, you just look at this here, right over that enhanced risk area, and there's a lot of favorable flow in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, wind energy to drive the development of thunderstorms, and wind energy for thunderstorms right over this region. Okay? So what is this doing? Well, this is overlapping a very moist air mass that you see right into here. Sunday morning, once again, dew points in the 60s and 70s. As you can see here, these are not temperatures. Dew points support severe weather. This is thermodynamics, so you get in the Sunday afternoon. Dew points in the upper 60s to 70s right over that enhanced region, right over here. Okay, so you got the thermodynamics being overlapped by the favorable kinematics, right? Tons of energy. And then once again, you'll kind of look at the surface reflection, and there's that surface low ejecting off the rock is going to bring all that severe weather for areas of Oklahoma and Kansas. But watch as this surface low at the base of this trough begins to progress overnight into areas of the Midwest. And notice this is Sunday morning. There's a lot of storm activity over Missouri and Iowa, over the Midwest. I think we'll have ongoing severe weather. And then we start to get into Sunday afternoon, surface low somewhere over the upper Midwest, Midwestern states, and you see these areas of storms over Indiana. This is going to be widespread in this entire area. But this surface low right here for Sunday afternoon is going to be the thing that drives an active day Sunday. And then you're going to have active weather Sunday night and a Monday too. We got to see what happens Monday afternoon. Monday afternoon, latest Euro shows a lot of storm activity in the mid-Atlantic especially. And with the surface low right up here, you can bet we're going to have severe weather most likely in the mid-Atlantic. It's just they're not confident on the outlook. That's all I got, guys. Stay safe out there today. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. And then I'll talk to you soon.